Welcome back to the Standing Room Only podcast. This is episode 67. We got some big news to talk about this week with the NBA All-Star Game happening over the weekend. Blake Griffin going to the Nets, LaMarcus Aldridge, potential destinations, and then NFL news. We'll be talking about the franchise tags, Dak Prescott's contract, some other NFL news, and then some brief baseball stuff at the end. Make sure to follow us on social media at SROnlyPod, Twitter and Instagram. And then if you guys do enjoy the episode, make sure you download it. Best way to show support, and it's the best way for us to track our statistics. You could delete it afterwards, so as long as you download it, listen to the episode, delete it, it'll be tracked for us. So appreciate that. You can follow our personal pages. Mine is at the Healy6.
I am iGoose with 4 O's. I'm on Twitter, Twitch, Instagram. Go ahead, follow. Stay interactive, guys. We like to talk to you guys regarding the sports news around the world.
Yes. I thought it was going to be a little bit of a weak episode, but we do have a lot of a few big topics to talk about.
Oh yeah, we definitely do.
Going to be the NBA All-Star Game. What did you think, before even getting into it and discussing the events, what did you think about having everything on one day compared to the 2-day or 3-day events that it was in the past?
It was cool. It was cool to get it all done in one day. Because, I mean, realistically, a lot of the average person doesn't have free time every day to watch every single event. I mean, that's just a fact. I know I don't, at least. Maybe a lot of people do. The one thing I wasn't a fan of was how they crammed the slam dunk contest at halftime. I felt like if they're going to do it, extend it out. I mean, it's not like they had guys that were in the All-Star game in the dunk contest anyways. But they could have added more contestants this way by not cramming it in at the halftime show, which was fine, I guess. It was an okay dunk contest. I wasn't the biggest fan. I thought it was one of the worst ones I've ever watched. I'm not going to lie. But all on the same day, I don't mind. I don't mind it. It's almost like you're making one big event. You have the game, which obviously lasts a few hours. Everything leading up to it. It's Sunday. A lot of people are off work. Maybe they do 2 days. Maybe they just do Saturday, Sunday, and they make it as simple as that moving forward as the world starts to quote unquote reopen. It was okay. I didn't mind that. What I did mind mostly was the dunk contest. I don't know. What were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, we'll get into the events and stuff and how those ran after this. I liked it. Like the couple days doesn't necessarily bother me. The third day is normally just the Rising Stars competition and the celebrity game on Friday. So technically it's Saturday, Sunday. Instead of 2 days, it's one. I put it all into one. The only issue, it was kind of lengthy. It started at 5:30, didn't end till 10:30, which on a Sunday evening shouldn't necessarily be a problem, but it is kind of long for an average person to watch. So I didn't mind it. If it's 2 days, I'll watch 2 days. If it's 1 day, I'll watch one. Realistically, in a normal world, 1 day will never happen though. Just because if it's 1 day, you only sell tickets to all the people that attend that day, and that's it. If it's multiple days, you get multiple days to sell tickets to people. And they're generally way more expensive to see the events over the actual All-Star game.
Yeah. So I guess you're right. Friday would just be the Rising Stars and the celebrity All-Star game and whatever else they do. But so yeah, it would be 2 days anyways. But like you said, for money aspect for the NBA, that makes sense. Yeah. I mean, I didn't mind it. I mean, it's an adjustment. That first day, it wasn't even supposed to be in Atlanta, the All-Star game. They canceled it, and all of a sudden, kind of last minute, not so last minute, but kind of, they're like, hey, we're going to do the All-Star game. We're going to Atlanta this time, though. And I know they try to do things with the 2-on-2 game with the hip hop artists. Obviously, we had Lil Baby and I'm drawing a blank on some of these guys, Jack Harlow and Quavo and 2 Chainz, which is cool because I mean it combines culture and obviously the sport itself. which I thought was pretty cool. I believe that was that Saturday or was that Sunday?
The Quavo stuff?
The Quavo
I
game,
think it was
yeah.
Sunday.
Was it still Sunday? So,
Yep.
yeah. So, I mean, it was a cluster, a bit of a cluster, but it wasn't that bad. I mean, like you said, 5 to 10:30 is a very long time to watch. I don't know about you guys. I mean, it is nice to split it up because Saturday you can get the events done from like a 7 to 10 schedule. And then the All-Star game, obviously that's going to be a few hours as itself. So, but the All-Star game itself, I mean, obviously, so we had the All-Star game,
skills
we had the
competition.
draft, we had the skills competition, we had the dunk contest, we had the three-point competition. So, I mean, we can go through them. I know that if we want to start with the skills competition, Sabonis won that one, which is awesome because I love his game. I love his game. He's a big guy that can move, he can rebound, he can score. He's on a team that is okay. That's better with him, definitely better with him. I would consider him, I wouldn't say he's an MVP type player, but he brings a lot to the table. So that's pretty cool to see him win. And then from that point, we had the 3-point contest.
I think this is the second year in a row a big man's won the skills competition. A problem with these events being in one day, though, I didn't like the compression of them. So, like, starting off with the skills competition, it was only 6 people instead of 8. Luka and Chris Paul got a bye. It didn't matter because they lost somehow. But, like, the one thing I pointed out, I tweeted out about it sarcastically, but it's a cool point of the event. These guys basically dribble down the court. They do a bounce pass. They dribble down the other side of the court. Normally, it was a chest pass. They dribble down the other end of the court. Normally, it's a bounce pass. They didn't have the bounce pass this year, which there was only one pass. You dribbled down, you took a layup, and then you took the 3-point shot. Not having the bounce pass, I don't know why that was taken out. It doesn't really add a lot of time to the competition. But also, like, in a skills competition, bounce passes are probably harder compared to the chest pass. So, like, you removed one of the most difficult pieces of the competition.
Yep.
It's always funny when guys get stuck on that, too. You just see them bounce, like, 4 in a row, and it just hits off.
Yeah, it's it. For one, it's interesting that a big man did win again. But yeah, I mean, everything, like you mentioned, was condensed. From that to obviously the other events as well. I only watched the finals of the skills competition. I didn't catch the beginning, which probably I didn't miss much, considering they had 2 guys with the first round bye, which I knew going into it. Seeing a big man win was pretty cool. I'm disappointed. It's hard to say I'm disappointed knowing that there's circumstances and reasoning behind it. I just know that it can't get worse than this. It's only going to get better, and that's all I'm going to think about. But I mean, from that to the 3-point contest, I don't think was the 3-point contest. Was that still the regular, or was that condensed as well?
It was 2 rounds. I don't know if it's normally 3, but the top, I think there was 6 contestants instead of 8.
Okay.
And the top 3 advanced.
And then it was just the finalists for the 3, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then Steph Curry, obviously Steph Curry won that, which he was lights out in the All-Star game as well. That was a warm-up for him, which is super nice. So he claimed his throne. We got to see Zach LaVine in there. Obviously, we know he's a good 3-point shooter at heart. He doesn't need to win a 3-point contest to win us over. That was pretty cool to see him in that contest, and then obviously in the All-Star game. And then technically the All-Star game came before the dunk contest. Technically, It started before the dunk contest. Why? Because they pushed and crammed the dunk contest at halftime. They had just a few dunkers. They had Obi Toppin, Cassius Stanley, Anthony Simons. Those 3. And in the first round, they each got 2 dunks. In the final round, it was 1 dunk. First round was based on average score by the judges. Dwayne Wade was not a judge, thankfully. And the second round was just vote on the best dunk. Anthony Simons obviously ended up winning the dunk contest. which personally I don't think should have won. He attempted to kiss the rim, and instead he just showed off his vertical, which is cool. It's cool. We've seen verticals before. We've seen Dwight Howard do some cool things. Cassius Stanley had the best dunk in the dunk contest, and he scored the least amount in the first round. It was unbelievable that they scored it the way they did, and I can see why, because it was the first dunk and he made it look so easy. But also after I tweeted, I noticed other athletes and celebrities were very shocked that that wasn't a 50 dunk. So I got that confirmation. And when they showed it in slow motion after, like later on, it was unbelievable how effortless it was coming off of, I think he jumped off his left foot, and it was like, I don't know, everything was great about it. But I mean, the dunk contest was definitely the most disappointing. I mean, what do you expect, I guess, right? When you cram it in halftime and you have three very young, not well-known players, you don't really draw a crowd. You're putting these guys on the map for sure, but I don't know. It just wasn't the same not having, even a Derrick Jones or Aaron Gordon, or, I mean, Zach LaVine couldn't do it. He was in the All-Star game, or any of these other guys, these big-time players that we know can, that have hang time. So definitely a disappointment on the dunk contest.
Yeah, I think there's a lack of preparation a lot of these guys had. Because going
Mhm,
into a normal year, there's an All-Star game. Kind of have a
mhm,
feeling if you're going to be in the slam dunk contest. So you're practicing these dunks in practice. You're trying to like get these ridiculous ones out. And the All-Star game came up within like a few weeks, what it seemed like.
mhm.
So lack of preparation there. Yeah, the dunks that they did throw down, I didn't like. I feel like the slam dunk contest may be an unpopular opinion. Should start getting faded out. There's so many dunks we've seen, and there's only so many you can do. There's only so much creativity you can have that like we're just gonna get to a point where you're seeing the same dunks consistently. Just doesn't
Yeah,
really have the flair that it once did.
and every year there's always that comparison to Vince Carter or the Jason Richardson, or the MJ. There's still some dunks out there that we need to see in a dunk contest. Zach LaVine doing the 720 from the free throw line that he was practicing. If he's in a dunk contest and pulls that off, that would be something that we've never seen before. I don't think he's ever pulled it off. Maybe he has, but we
Mm-hmm.
don't know if we're going to see him in the dunk contest, because as you get older and as you solidify that all-star, I guess, title, if you will, these guys kind of just don't do that stuff anymore. It's something you get in the first like 18 to 22-year-olds, maybe 23-year-olds.
Yeah. Didn't
Obviously,
Obi Toppin steal one of Zach LaVine's dunks?
yeah, he did. I tweeted about it. He did the bounce so he bounced it and brought it between the legs. And Zach LaVine just posted that the week before, 2 weeks before, in a warm up, during a game, in a warm up. And I was thinking at the time, I'm like, man, Zach LaVine is cold. Like, this dude is is dope. Like, he flies. He literally gets hang time. The way he moves in the air is so awesome. I'm like, man, I'm glad he's with Chicago. Like, this dunk is cool. 2 weeks later, less than 2 weeks later, we see Obi Toppin do it, and he executed. He did pretty well. There's something weird about the way he did it compared to Zach LaVine. And so the whole time I'm thinking Zach LaVine sliced that dunk up, and then Obi Toppin did it. He did well. Maybe it's the fact that he's a bigger type of player.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he definitely stole the dunk. But it's the first time in a dunk contest
Yeah.
from my, so technically he didn't steal it.
No. Just wasn't as creative as like a lot of people thought it was.
Simon's his dunk to attempt to kiss the rim was very, I'm surprised nobody's really tried that. I know we've gotten Gerald Green to blow out the cupcake, the
Yes.
candle on the cupcake, which was awesome. I mean, Gerald Green was a dope competitor. Simons, maybe just maybe he didn't want to test the waters with COVID on the rim. Maybe I don't
Mm.
know.
Probably due to the vibrations, and he was afraid he would hit his
Oh
stuff
yeah,
like
you don't want to
that.
do that. It was a good attempt. It was a good attempt. I mean, he definitely has hang time, and he's been playing a lot more this year with CJ McCollum being out. So I kind of knew who he was going into it. And obviously, I mean, if you watch the game, you know Obi Toppin. Cassius Stanley, I didn't know who he was. I'm not going to lie to you. I had to look him up. I'm like, okay, this makes sense. He doesn't play much. This is why I don't know who he is. Plus, I don't watch a lot of Pacers basketball. But I can tell you there was a Pacer back in the day, Fred Jones, who would be able to fly, throw it down between his legs. I'm pretty sure he's done it in a game. I could be wrong. And I was trying to think of a Pacer that has performed in the dunk contest or competed in the dunk contest that was pretty good. And I'm like, man, Paul George, he was good in game. He's never really done dunk contests. And I was like, man, Fred Jones. I was like, let's see what this guy has. I mean, it's still the same unis. And I don't know. I thought that first dunk was nuts. That between the legs, coming off the opposite foot. But yeah, all in all, I give it a 6 out of 10 for this year's dunk contest.
Yeah, I hope we don't get a repeat of this one ever again. This one was also compressed with the dunks.
Mm-hmm.
Also, you only had a certain amount of attempts to do a dunk, which could have reduced some of the creativity of some of these guys, like wanting to do something.
Mm-hmm.
But All-Star game, we saw some guys show out, but the main thing, it kind of went back. I was hoping the competitiveness would be there like it was last year. This year, though, it went back to like how it was.
Yeah, last year they played with a chip on their shoulder. Obviously, Kobe just passed. And I just felt like last year as well, the teams were drafted way better. I felt like Durant just does not like were to start a 2K franchise league with him and do a fantasy draft, I'm gonna bully him in 2K because of how bad he drafted. The teams were so lopsided, and I mean, there were definitely moments where it was fun to watch because these guys, yeah, they're not showing out, but they still want to have a highlight. Like you always want to highlight in an all-star game. It just was not the same. And it's bad to think that way because we'll never probably get another all-star game like we did last year because we never had one like that up until that point where it was like game 7 of the finals. These guys were playing for everything, for pride and everything. But, obviously the teams and the whole situation with a lot of these guys stressing that they didn't even want to be there to begin with because of the whole it's so last minute. The COVID situation, the pandemic. I thought it was okay. I'm going to give them a pass on this one because the guys seemed like they were having fun and they were out there laughing and having fun like they normally do at these all-star games. And that's what you like to see. I still would take this 10 times out of 10 over the Pro Bowl game for the NFL.
Yeah,
The
no
Pro Bowl game for the NFL is a joke. Like you're risking these guys going out and getting hurt, even though because they don't want to go 100%, which they can still get hurt that way. Versus the NBA, at least, you have guys like Giannis shooting 16 of 16 in a game. Granted, yeah, the game doesn't matter, but that's still kind of cool to see. Like he
with
banked
2 threes.
Yeah, 2 threes that I'm pretty sure he banked both of them in. He ended up winning the MVP, which he should have, the Kobe Bryant Award. And we saw some other guys. We saw Steph and LeBron kind of joking around, having a good time. And in my head, I'm like, what if?
Yeah.
Now I'm like thinking, because these all-star games, you always see these guys like having fun and they're talking one-on-one, and you're like, where have we seen this before? LeBron and AD years ago. This is weird. So not saying that Steph Curry and LeBron are ever going to team up, but it just shows that there's a mutual respect. And I mean, if they do end up teaming up, hey, at least they know how each other's play, how they would play together. So it was those shots from downtown that those guys were nailing were nuts.
Yeah.
Dame time.
Yeah.
Steph Curry.
Yeah, ridiculous. Like it was definitely a show in that sense. The competitiveness, like how close the game was. I think there was one quarter though, which just made it that way. Team LeBron scored like 50 something points. And then Team Durant scored like 30 something. And that was it. That was the difference maker.
Yeah, that one quarter. It was tough to watch at times. I mean, I don't even know. LeBron had 3 guys on that team that would have probably been number ones on the other team.
Yeah.
If Kevin Durant wasn't hurt, if Kevin Durant was healthy, it would have been a completely different story.
And Embiid didn't
Joel
play.
Embiid. And Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons couldn't play.
Yeah.
because of contact tracing from the barber. I feel like this happened didn't the
The
barber
Super
thing
Bowl.
happen during Oh, that was the Super Bowl? Okay, I thought it was the bubble for a second.
Joel Embiid was hilarious on Twitter. He posted like a photo of like from him being in like a game and being like arguing a call, and he captioned it like, "But those fresh fades looked so good."
Yeah. I wonder if he still got paid for that. I wonder.
Probably,
Maybe
no
yeah, he
doubt.
probably did. And he was donating a lot of it, which was awesome. He donated like 500,000 of like the million or whatever he was getting. So shout out to Joel Embiid for that. And I know a lot of guys do that in the league. So shout out to those guys as well.
I don't think
But
it would have really mattered though, because you have Dame, Steph, just like so many guys on that team LeBron that could just shoot threes.
But Joel Embiid was a part of that All-Star game last year. He was like a big part in making it so competitive. Joel Embiid is he's now the favorite going into the second half of the season for MVP. He's the favorite right now by like just a few points. I think he's going to win MVP as long as Philadelphia stays on this streak and they go in as a top 3. There's no reason he shouldn't get it. His numbers are ridiculous. And honestly, the way he plays, night in, night out, averaging 30 a game and 12 boards. And defensively, he's pretty damn good. I can see him winning the MVP. It would have been cool to see him in the All-Star game, but with this year's All-Star game being the way it was, I don't think, like you said, I don't think it would have mattered too much. Especially with these guys drilling half-court threes the whole game. It was nuts.
Yeah, so we had that with the All-Star game. Hopefully next year we get a little bit better of a show with the skills competition. All-Star game is going to be the All-Star game, whatever. But NBA news, Blake Griffin going to the Nets. A lot of people were like hyped for it. I don't know like if I'm not watching Blake Griffin enough and I'm kind of like falling into like the media narrative of him being bad, but I didn't really like that move to the Nets. I could
Why
be
so?
wrong. 'Cause I thought he was washed up in Detroit. I think he hasn't dunked. All he does is shoot threes at an average rate. And his defense and athleticism just wasn't there. And I didn't feel like the Nets needed a guy like that. So I was like, all right, whatever. Like I was hoping he would go to like a different team. A lot of people, a lot of others seem to think otherwise.
It's hard to base it off of his performance in Detroit. I feel like for one, he hasn't played the full season. I think he's played, let's see, he's at 18, about 20 games so far. And obviously they played way more than 20 games. Um, he's, I mean, if we look at the stats breakdown, he's played 2 games more than 40 minutes. In those games, he put up 26 points. He had 3 steals in the first game. The second game that he played 40 minutes, he still put up 16 and 12, which was a double-double. It's hard when they're making Jeremy Grant the guy over there.
Yeah.
Jeremy Grant's the guy. Like, he is the guy. He handles the ball most of the time. Detroit doesn't know what they're doing. They traded Derrick Rose to New York. They gave him what he wanted to be with Tibbs. They don't have Drummond. They got rid of Drummond within the last season or 2. They got Blake Griffin, but then Blake never was Blake over there. He was never Blake. Last year, he had some good games. And even this year, there's been a couple of good games this year. It's just unfortunately, he's only put up 20 points or more in 2 games. In 2 games this season. He's only put up, I mean, he has put up, as far as rebounding goes, only 2 games where he's had over 10 rebounds. He's never been a big rebounder. He's always averaged, I feel like, between like 6 and 8 boards a game, no matter where he was. But the big thing, like you mentioned, was his 3-point game, because he started to pick it up. His 3-point shooting came around the last few years, where he's shooting, 33, maybe 30% from downtown. with Detroit in 2018, 2019, the year after he got traded, he averaged almost 25 points a game with them, and he shot 36% from three. Now, last year, he only played 18 games. This year, they obviously were looking to trade him. He really wasn't even a part of the offense, barely. Granted, his field goal percentage has dropped tremendously, shooting 36% this year, 35% last year. But like technically, he hasn't played a full season since 2018, 2019, where he averaged almost 25 points a game. So sure, according to paper, to numbers, has he declined? Sure. Yeah, he's declined. There's no doubt about that. But did Brooklyn just get a hell of a lot better by adding Blake Griffin? Absolutely. Absolutely.
And like something I was kind of thinking about before tonight, maybe he just like wasn't really trying as hard. Detroit's
Scenery,
not a good team. Like
Mm-mm.
they haven't been too great in years. They weren't going to do anything this year. He's been hurt. He probably knew he was going to be traded at some point, so like he wasn't going to try hard enough to hurt his chances to go to a different team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Maybe now with the Nets, you will actually see a dunk. I wonder if there's going to be a prop bet out there. How many games over under for Blake Griffin to get a dunk?
It's gonna happen. There's no way it won't happen. I mean, they're stacked. To me as a basketball fan, I don't care. You can give 2K. 2K can rate him a 78. They can rate him a 78. I don't know what his rating is. Maybe an 80. He improves this team overall. Completely overall improves this team. Are we gonna see dunks? I guarantee we're gonna see a dunk or two. By that I mean a few. He doesn't have to put up 20 points a game. There's going to be games, though, where Durant obviously has been hurt, and they've been relying on Jeff Green. Well, Jeff Green might take the back seat now. There's a good chance Jeff Green's going to take the back seat.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to see, or he's going to come off the bench, plays 25 minutes a game. But obviously, we have DeAndre Jordan and Blake Griffin together for the first time in years, where they used to dominate together. Posters. Everybody's on a poster during Lob City. You have Kyrie Irving. You have James Harden. Kevin Durant when he's healthy. Even if these guys are going to be sitting every other day, somebody's going to be sitting every other day, right? I mean, that's just the way their lineup's been. He improves the team in every aspect of their game.
And like here's something that just popped in my head. Even if he doesn't do much, the fact that he went to the Nets is the best thing that could happen to the Nets team, as opposed to him going to a different team and maybe playing well there.
Mm-hmm.
They got him. Like he was going to go somewhere regardless. He was going to go to a contender.
That's
and
what he wanted, yeah.
They got him.
Yep.
So like the threat of him going somewhere else, the next one's going to be Andre Drummond, which he could end up in the Nets. Like, oh my God, if that happens.
Yeah, there's rumors there.
That would be crazy due to how he plays. But
yeah.
Blake Griffin going to the Nets. We'll see. I want to watch his debut game whenever that is. I've also seen a report with the Nets that Kevin Durant is still like dealing with a hamstring issue. I didn't think it was that serious, and it's kept him out 10 straight games so far.
Maybe only because it's Kevin Durant. They're extra cautious with him. I mean, granted, it was a calf injury that he had before that led to the Achilles tear, but they're winning without him. So it's almost like if he is hurt, let him rest. You only need him for the playoffs. Same thing with LeBron and AD. If AD is going to be hurt or LeBron's going to be hurt, which has generally been AD, they're getting to the playoffs. They'll be healthy for the playoffs. That's just how these things work. Not to say Kevin Durant's faking an injury, but you want to be cautious with him. They're winning.
In other news with the NBA, LaMarcus Aldridge and San Antonio are deciding to part ways. Does this mean a trade's going to happen? I don't think so. I think teams, kind of like with Blake Griffin, when you're and DeMarcus Cousins, when you're mutually agreeing to part ways, why would you trade for this guy when you know he'll just hit the free agent market? I don't really see a trade happening for LaMarcus Aldridge. And kind of going off topic, I remember when LaMarcus Aldridge got drafted, they traded Tyrese Thomas for him for Tyrese Thomas. I remember seeing on the draft, and I'm like, I wanted LaMarcus. He ended up being one of the best power forwards out of the past 10 plus years, and we've had to live with that.
Yeah, that was tough. We had tea time. Which, fun fact, I ran into Tyrese Thomas at Six Flags when I was a youngin', and I was like, that's a basketball player right there. And my nephew's like, oh, should I go say hi? I'm like, no, don't do it. He's with somebody. So he's like, are you Tyrese Thomas? He's like, yeah, what's up? Sure enough, I got to meet him. It was super cool. He was super nice. He wasn't doing like pictures or autographs. He was just there. But I wish I can go back to that moment and be like, that was a very worthless trade. Yeah, it wasn't his fault, obviously. He had the potential. He was a little dunk reel during some games. But yeah, LaMarcus Aldridge obviously is not the same LaMarcus Aldridge that we've seen in the past, the one that played with Brandon Roy, that jersey behind you there. But he can still make a difference in the playoffs. He's still fundamentally sound, still has a mid-range jumper, still a big body in the paint. Who knows? I mean, what are there any teams that you could imagine him going to? I assume it'd be a contender. I assume automatically a contender. I have a weird feeling he's going to go to an LA team, or I don't see him really going to the East. Maybe one of the contenders in the East. Sixers. Yeah, I could see the Sixers. Okay.
Watch the Bucks scoop him up.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know. Like the Bucks play like Bobby Portis a lot. I don't know. I mean, Bobby Portis is okay. I didn't really.
You need to expand the floor, though. Giannis doesn't really expand it.
No, primarily an inside threat, which in the All-Star game he showed that he could shoot the three, but that's All-Star game only. So yeah, I mean that he very well would fit in there as well. Yeah, I mean that Brook Lopez is getting older. He's kind of slow. He's playing his part, and they don't really have any. But the guards are great. Big men are questionable, and I think I agree with you that LaMarcus Aldridge would fit in there, or an LA team. I don't know why it just seems
LA
right.
seems like LA to LA seems like the move. More likely, I feel like the Lakers.
Mm-hmm.
What about Boston? I think Boston.
I could see with Boston, maybe.
I mean, any contender. Like, I think the big four are going to be Philadelphia, Boston, and then both LA teams.
Yeah, I could see that. I don't see them trading him away from a contender. I think that's going to be part of the agreement there, because he hasn't won. He's never won, and his numbers. There's been years where you're like, man, I really wish the Trailblazers would have won it this year. Whether if it was with Dame or if it was with Brandon Roy, because they've had some good teams back in the day. So
a sneaky team that, man, this team's already fun to watch. They're on a roll. I feel like he would help out their team. You got Chris Paul, Devin Booker, DeAndre Ayton, add in LaMarcus Aldridge.
Technically, he would work. He would work because he's not going to take over center. He could still play the power, I think, and let DeAndre Ayton play center.
Yep.
But I mean, how would that even work? Their starting five is Chris Paul. They have Devin Booker, Michael Bridges. Who's playing the four for them? Frank Kaminsky? Is Frank Kaminsky the starter for them? I think Frank's been starting, and then they have
Cameron Johnson as the forward.
Cameron Johnson.
Oh,
they have
Dario
Jay Crowder.
Saric is there.
Dario Saric, who's finally back. Yeah, he's back around. Jay Crowder, who plays pretty well when he does play. So I guess they do have a few forwards, but I feel like LaMarcus, he would fit in. Give him 20 minutes a game. I think he'll do some good things for them. I mean, this team is fun. This is a good team right now. And I know we talked about it going into the season, that we thought they would be good. And obviously they're, we've been talking about it the last couple of weeks, how they've been top 3 in the West. So
yeah, that team, I was looking at the standings. I don't really see the Jazz being one of them, even though they're the number 1 seed, but
Utah's a weird team to me.
Any of the top contenders, LA should go. But LA to LA seems like the most likely.
I agree. I feel like every year Golden State, maybe, I don't know. Golden State wants, I think I heard a rumor that they want to trade for Oladipo. They've been trying to probe for like what would be on the table, like trade offers, I guess, for Oladipo, what Houston would want. Apparently he's on the trade block, which, I mean, if I'm Houston, I guess anybody could be on the trade block. So I don't know. I'm interested to see. I feel like the Lakers and these teams that are really contending always get the veteran big guy. The veteran big guy when they're on the trade block, or if they need to get signed, they always go to the contending team and they always win a championship. That's just the way it's been.
Still have a couple weeks left for the NBA trade deadline. 15 days, to be exact. So maybe we'll see a couple trades here and there, but next week should definitely know where Andre Drummond's heading. Should definitely know where LaMarcus Aldridge is heading, you'd believe. So next week on the podcast, might be able to talk about that. Moving over to the NFL news, we had franchise tags. So start off, big one. This guy did not get franchise tagged at all. We said it was going to be a guaranteed. Dak Prescott signed a massive contract. This dude signed
Huge.
4 years for $160 million. He had like a $66 million signing bonus. 120 of it's like guaranteed. This dude got the bag.
How do you feel about that, Healy?
I don't think
it's a lot of money.
I don't think he's worth that. And it's always a struggle when guys are making massive money to build a Super Bowl contending team.
Hence why Tom Brady historically has always taken a pay cut so they can build other talent around him and win multiple Super Bowls. That's the name of the game. Cowboys, I don't know what they're going to do. And this year, the salary cap is a little bit less.
Yep.
So they did announce that it's like $20 million less. I could be wrong.
It went from like 198 to like 182.
Okay, so about 16 mil. So I guess that's not a huge deal. It is a huge deal when it comes to, having to sign guys this year. Dallas is right there. Dallas is a franchise that could have been a contender this past season. Dak Prescott's numbers were nuts. They were nuts before he broke his leg or ankle or whatever you want to call it. 4 years, 160 mil. On average, that's a $40 million contract, which is what he's been asking for. We've been talking about it since we started the podcast. He's not going to get it. He shouldn't get it. To me, you get paid based on, yes, your performance, but also, are you winning games? To me, he's not Aaron Rodgers. To me, he's not even Russell Wilson. He's good. He's good. His ceiling's high. They're paying him on that ceiling. I have nothing bad to say about him. I have nothing bad to say about Dak Prescott. Because technically speaking, if you really go through each team and you count the best quarterbacks in the league, I would say he's a top 6 right now, considering the weapons he has. Top 6, top 7 quarterback. More so top 7.
I'd say right off the top of my head, you got Rodgers, Mahomes, you got Jackson, Allen, Brady, Wilson. You got Matt Stafford up there.
We'll call him top 10. Lamar Jackson's questionable. Lamar Jackson's a questionable quarterback.
Watson, I didn't even list.
Deshaun Watson is definitely up there. He's probably more so like top 6. So Dak Prescott is getting paid simply for the fact that quarterbacks are getting paid. Good quarterbacks are getting paid and they're signing long deals. We saw Pat Mahomes sign a long deal. Aaron Rodgers, by the time his contract is done, he's got a couple more years. I don't know who's going to sign him to a long deal. Most quarterbacks that are good and young around that age are getting huge deals. You just kind of have to, you have to roll the dice. You got to pay the guy. Because if he walks, any other team that's in need of a quarterback, which is about 20 other teams, maybe 18 other teams that truly need a good quarterback, would pay him the money. And then you're forced to go where? The draft?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe go pick up a Mitch Trubisky in free agency. We don't know what's going to happen with him. Be forced to trade. I don't know. I think it's worth it. I think it's a good, as much as I do think he is overpaid, it makes sense. It makes sense. Somebody else got a huge deal recently, and it was the same thing. It's like, are they overpaid? Yes. But do they have no other choice because of the asset, the type of asset? Yes, they don't have a choice. And I think in this situation, give him what he wants. We don't know how long Zeke's going to last. We don't know. Zeke's not getting another big deal. I can tell you that. His numbers haven't been improving, and he's a running back. I hate to say it, but the guys that perform the best at the running back position only do it for so long. There's very few that have a longevity. Not to say he's not going to keep doing well, but I mean, he was on my fantasy football team. I kept a close eye on him this year. Past couple of years, actually. It's pretty good. He could score sometimes. I think it was a good overall for a win now move. It's a win now move. Don't let him walk. If they don't win in the next 2 to 3 years, I don't know if they're going to ever win. I don't see them ever winning. They're going to have to go through another rebuild.
Yeah, luckily, it is only like 4 years long.
Mm-hmm.
And who knows what contracts are going to look like in 4 years. Quarterback, most important position on the field. So
always
not necessarily like terrible. I'm not hating on Dak. He got his money. Good for him. But like from a athletic standpoint and like competitive standpoint, it just didn't make sense to shell out all that money for the type of value that he does bring to the table.
Yeah, it should have been 4 for like 1-4. And if I'm him too, I know he wants the money. The Tom Brady effect, the fact that he takes pay cuts. So this is a side note. In kind of relation to that, Chris McCaffrey and Shaq Barrett in Carolina are reconstructing their contract to create more cap space. So watch out for Carolina. Those players are doing it because they know they need that extra piece. They need that extra weapon. Tom Brady's been doing it. Dak's like, yo, give me $40 million a year.
Brett Favre did it.
Brett Favre did it, yeah. Brett Favre did it for a while.
I'd be surprised if they still aren't paying Brett Favre this day.
Somebody's paying him. New York, Minnesota.
With just how much he reconstructed his deal. But another franchise tag guy, I thought he was going to be tagged. Well, Allen Robinson got tagged. Good for the Bears.
Last minute.
Because if they want to trade him, they could trade him. Will he sign the franchise tag in general? That's another question. But one of the guys that I thought was going to get franchise tagged was Kenny Golladay. Did not happen. Kind of makes sense, though. The Lions, we talked about Detroit in basketball. In football, they're the same way. They aren't good. And I assume they realize that. So they probably had like a mutual agreement. They probably went into talks. They're like, hey, like, look, we're going to sign you to the franchise tag. And they probably came to an agreement like, yeah, we aren't going to really do much. We're kind of like in a rebuilding phase. Like, we want a high draft pick anyways. So let's just let you loose.
Yeah, I think, I mean, I know there was rumors that they were going to split ways anyways. I just don't see it. I feel bad for Jared Goff because this is probably going to be a career killer for him, having to play in Detroit. Matt Stafford, we're going to really see that it wasn't just Matt Stafford. Like, Matt Stafford is a good quarterback. We're going to see that with LA. But Kenny Golladay going, I'm curious. I'm excited to see where he goes. I'm excited. I'm super excited. He was one. Yeah. He's definitely he should be able to get a payday. I thought because the Bears took forever to franchise tag Allen Robinson. So in my head, I'm thinking, oh, they're smart. They're going to let him go and get Kenny Golladay, who's been hurt, and maybe get a little discount on him because of the fact that he hasn't played a full season. But he's talent-wise, I wouldn't say he's as good, but he's pretty damn good. But obviously, they ended up franchise tagging Allen Robinson, and now it makes you wonder, okay, now where can Kenny go? Kenny Golladay go? Besides him, we saw a few other guys that did not get the tag. Aaron Jones.
Yeah,
They are working on a contract, apparently. They're in talks, but this is what I mean. They had a 3 running back committee. I just don't know how you can replace Aaron Jones, but Dylan is blossoming. You have Jamal Williams, who runs hard every single play. This is a dude who can literally get like helmet to helmet hit and pop back up like it's nothing. Like nothing affects him. It's great. Hopefully they bring Aaron Jones back because, I mean, pure talent is there. It's there. He's generally healthy, knock on wood. This is me speaking as a Packer fan. Besides Aaron Jones, there was a few other notable names. Chris Carson with the Seahawks, Shaquille Griffin with the Seahawks cornerback, Hunter Henry, tight end with the Chargers, who's been pretty good, and Jonnu Smith with the Titans, another tight end. So there's a couple of good tight ends out there. These are guys who have been pretty productive the last couple of years, especially Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry too, technically.
I didn't realize Jonnu Smith was that, like, he was already becoming a free agent.
I didn't realize it either. I did not realize that. He's been in the league for a few years now. Because they always had Delaney Walker as a tight end for a while.
That makes sense.
They had Delaney Walker, and Smith came up behind him and then eventually took over. Delaney Walker, I think, did he retire? He must have retired. I haven't heard his name in a while.
Had to have. No doubt about it.
Yeah. So those are the notable non-franchise tagged players. The ones that did get franchise tagged, if you don't mind, Healy, I'll go through the list. We have Chris Godwin with the Tampa Bay. He got the franchise tag, which is awesome. I know a lot of guys, they look down on the franchise tag and they hold out, but for him, it's a good move because they should be contenders again. There's no reason they shouldn't be. And he's slated to make $16 million, just under 16 mil, which is pretty good considering how stacked that team is. Marcus May, the safety for the Jets, he's on pace, or for this year, he's going to make $10.6 million. He's pretty good safety. Taylor Morton, tackle for the Carolina Panthers, 26 years old. He's going to make $13.75 million on the tag. Dak Prescott is not on there. Allen Robinson, obviously, with the Bears, which was huge. The only times that their quarterbacks looked good is generally because Allen Robinson was diving 15 yards across the field to make a catch. Not afraid to lay out for those extra yards. That's somebody you need on your team. I'm glad that they're keeping him around. Hopefully he's okay with the franchise tag, but he's going to get about $18 million on the tag. There's Leonard Williams on the defensive line for the Giants, Justin Simmons for the Broncos, free safety, Brandon Scherf, guard with the Washington football team, and then Cam Robinson, also with the Jaguars, the tackle. So those are some notables. And then Marcus Williams with the Saints as well.
So all those guys are free agents. Got a buddy of mine becoming a free agent once again, Kyle Long. He's returning to football. I congratulated him yesterday on that. He's in football shape again. He's 315. He's been training out in Arizona. Might not be as explosive as he once was, but I do feel like he will go to a team that's contending and be able to give him that offensive line help that he needs. Won't be going to the Bears, just so everyone's aware. Bears kind of did him dirty, and just like with how he the exit of him, it just wouldn't have happened. It would be drama the whole time. Is he going to get hurt again? What's the relationship like? He just needs a fresh new scenery coming back for round 2.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, that's an all-pro right there. Even at his age, there's a few guys in the league who are pushing the upper 30s.
Only
that
33.
Are still, yeah. Oh, I thought he was 35. Wow, he's only 33. For some reason, I thought he was 35. That's even better. I knew he retired early. Quote unquote, early.
32.
32. So probably 33 going into the season, I assume.
December 5th.
Oh man. Oh, you're still gonna get you could probably still get a prime Kyle Long. I mean, this is an all pro lineman. I mean, multiple Pro Bowls. What if he does go to Chicago?
He won't.
It won't happen.
No, he's already like said on a podcast like he would like have to take a pay cut.
Oh yeah.
And then like the storylines, the media, is he gonna get hurt again? All of Chicago, like especially afterwards, like just the amount of people that just trash talk him for always being hurt. He'll go to a different franchise, one that should be winning. He gets to choose where he wants to go. I assume if he comes back, he's not going to just be signing a deal to like the Lions. He's not going to be signing a deal to the Jaguars. He'll be coming back and getting onto a team that has a
He wants to win. Green Bay's not very far.
I was thinking about Green Bay. Oh my, if he goes there.
Can we switch roles? Can I be his friend then? And then you, like, since you're the Bears fan, you take the fallback. I'll be the friend.
Yeah. I'll let him know. I'll hit him up and give him your info instead of mine.
There we go. So I mean, we have that, and I think today the Saints announced they're releasing Emmanuel Sanders, so he's going to be on the market, which I think he'll fit in somewhere. I know he's not the same receiver that he used to be with Denver, but I mean, he can still go out there and snag some balls. So I don't think there's anything else. Free agency starts a week from today at 3 p.m. Eastern time.
4 p.m. Eastern.
4 p.m. Eastern time, 3 p.m. Central time, which is our time zone. Our next week's episode, we will probably know of many trades, signings, just in time for the episode. So you guys got to make sure in, not just downloading, but you're going to want to listen to next week's episode because there's going to be a lot of news. Because I don't think is there anything else that you can think of with the NFL? I don't think there's really.
No.
It's just franchise tag. It's next week's the big week.
Yeah, and not really anything with baseball besides places opening up for sporting events. Like we got Wrigley and Guaranteed Rate both opening up for 20%. We got Camden Yards opening up for 50%. The Orioles, just so you know, 50% of their stadium is 6,000 more seats on average than they sold in 2019. So shouldn't be hard to get a ticket in Baltimore. The Rangers, you hear about the Rangers? 100% capacity.
Really?
Ridiculous.
This Texas though.
Yeah, ridiculous. But yeah, Texas is doing 100%.
They're opening their doors 100%, like not just sports, like everything's open 100% there. There's a couple of states like that. It's wild, but hey, I mean, to each their own.
So besides that, Michael Hermosillo hit another home run. Shout out to him. 2 home runs so far spring training. Keep it up. Love hearing the good stories about the standing room only guys. Even if Michael Hermosillo hit a home run off of Josiah Gray, the standing room only connection.
Yeah, it was kind of funny. I didn't realize that when we were talking. I was like, yo, he hit another bomb. You're like, yeah, you see who it was hit off of? It was Josiah Gray. I'm like, no way. I went back, rewatched it. Like, it's awkward.
Yeah, Josiah,
awkward.
He responded to my tweet on Twitter. He said, I thought we were friends.
That's hilarious.
He did strike out 3 people that day, so it didn't really matter. But
yeah.
Besides that, that's it for this week's episode of Standing Room Only Podcast. 67 episodes. We're getting into the nicest of them all in a couple of weeks, number 69. As always, you can follow us on social media, SR Only Pod, Twitter and Instagram. You can follow my personal page at the Healy6 for Twitter and Instagram, and Healy6 on Twitch and YouTube.
And I'm iGoose with 4 O's.
And we'll see you guys next week.